All right, what is up, everyone? We're going to be talking about May 15th here. We are on a Thursday, and we had an interesting day. I actually only took a small part in the open. Seemed like another chop day, and then if only I had patience, if you had patience, you had some premium opportunity to make some returns. I'm going to kind of go over some of these opportunities, look at what I could have made if I had taken these, show you what you could have made, and kind of just go over the structure in a nutshell. So, yeah, before we dive too far in, we could see yesterday's session, very much a choppy day. We didn't go anywhere. We barely broke the London highs and rejected. We closed above or just below, actually. And we never even touched the lows on the London session. So it's very much a sideways day, a lot of level to level trading. However, today, you can see in the Asian markets, there was a bit of a sell off. We broke previous day low, previous day London low, and dipped into some of the price action that we had on Tuesday. But once the market kind of started here, you could see we were on a bit of an uptrend, and then we're looking at a 15-minute chart. So every one of these is 15 minutes worth of trading. This was great if you're a level to level trader. A lot of the people I work with and I know are level to level traders. I was done in this time frame. A lot of other people were done in this time frame. But if you were patient, the market did have a direction it wanted to go, and it looks like that was up. So we're going to dive into this a little bit. Let me hop on over to the 5-minute chart. Let's go ahead and open this up here. And as you can see from the market open, which was right about here, we had a big push up, big push down, up, down, up. Like, this is literally the definition of sideways trading. Not ideal for most people to trade. However, if you're a breakout trader, if you were to kind of hold your guns, you can see, for example, I want to point out down here, we made a lower high. I'm sorry, a lower high, right? But then we made another higher low and another higher low. We're making higher lows. We failed to really make any higher highs. We made, this one and this one, but then we made a lower high again. So a bit of a small wedge at the end here, but one thing we can tell is that sellers were not in control. Buyers also did not have a ton of control here, but they were definitely preventing any movement lower. So if you were patient, if you were betting up, based on this information, maybe you were waiting for a breakout. Maybe you bought down here and you were just waiting for it to break up. At any point, if you had patience and if you had nerves of steel, you could have gotten in maybe on this one down here. Maybe you would have gotten somewhere into this, right? And your stop would have been low of day. And maybe you were aiming for, this. You would have gotten paid if you were aiming for this high here. But maybe you were thinking like, oh, I'm gonna aim for the Asian highs, right? Previous day high even. You could have gotten that easily if you had the patience. As you can see, you never would have even gotten close to hitting your stop once you got in. And actually, let's go ahead and bump this down to a 1 minute really quick. And I'm going to remove the sessions now that we're kind of done with the sessions there, right? So we can see our consolidation block. And then right here, what I'm talking about is we had this big wick push down. So maybe you had a entry somewhere in this level. You could have put it here. You could have put it here, anywhere in here, but you probably would have been filled with a stop just below, aiming for the Asian highs, as you can see over here, and this would have played out. I mean, this move alone, was worth a what is that, $3,365 move with about a $330 loss risk on that trade. That is pretty good. We're talking about a 10 to 1 win to loss ratio. That is absolutely ideal. However, if you were aggressive trader and this push up to you maybe said that we were going higher, at any point you could have moved your stop up. Maybe you moved your stop here. You know, maybe maybe you moved it here after this move. right? You could have locked in 2,000 profit and just let it run. If you had the stomach to do so, every time this price moved up and made new highs, you could have moved your stop into the lows. And if you look, sorry, my phone rang. I did not expect that. I thought it was on silent. Anyway, if you look and you just trailed the highs, you can see that there was plenty of opportunity to just continue to move your stop up. It did not create lower lows pretty much at any point till later in the day. So if you went on to maybe the next bigger move up, you could have trailed your stop up again. At this point, you're locking in $4,000. The trade moved up again. Oh, and you're like, oh, okay. So maybe you're looking at it up here, but you move your stop to here. On this next dip, boom, you could have taken that profit. Maybe you just let it keep running. Maybe after it moved up here, right, you moved your stop to this last swing low, and at this point, you would have been taken out for $4,600 down here. If you decided to predict the top, which let's be real, nobody can really predict the top. You can take a guess, but you can see you could have made $4,600 easily on the day if you just let it run. Not something I typically do, but a beautiful example of what can happen and the trade that happened there. Me personally, I would not have looked at the sell up here as bullish as this was and the moves we had that today. I wouldn't have taken this. We did make a lower low. If you're an extremely aggressive trader, you could have looked at this sweep above this lower high and fail. So you could have gotten in somewhere around here. But me personally, I would not have taken that. That being said, yeah, it was a beautiful day after the fact. My day ends at about 10 a.m. Eastern, so I was done trading sometime before here. I took my money in these sells in the level to level trading. Small day for me, but a profitable day nonetheless. Yeah, outside of that, much later than I ever would have traded, but for anyone who does trade, there were multiple opportunities to see that we were now coming back down, creating lower lows and lower highs. In fact, we had this in a little bit of an impulsive push up with a hard stop. If we look left, we can see we had a lot of consolidation right here. This is a key level, and you could have sold off of that. You could have sold off of the bottom of that level. Multiple opportunities there, but I'm not going to dive into those. If you have questions or you want to check those out more, just let me know. For now, though, let's go ahead and hop over to the option side of things. So this is where the real money was if you really were expecting this move up. I, however, as I mentioned, was not. Very choppy open, so I wouldn't have predicted this. Now, that being said, if you were one of those people who, for example, know that, hey, we're failing to create new lows, maybe I want to hop into calls here, you can see over here, that's the put, the call is over here. You could see that if you would have gotten in, maybe here, maybe after this wick, this hammer candle here, maybe you decided that you were like, hey, I'm going to bet up and I think it's going to go up, right? So I'm going to buy in here. You could have gotten in. I think this was just out of the money. What are we looking at? 58.75, and this is 58.80, so 58.90. So this is a couple out of the money actually. And you can actually see right here that your contracts were about $500, give or take. $500 at this time. If you waited for the break, you were looking at about a $600, $650 contract. Either way, though, these contracts, if you held to the highs, same kind of system. If you pushed up and you waited for the pullback, right? You can see the pullback on my mouse down here. This pullback, so you could have moved your stop up on this option and locked in from $600. You could have locked in 100% increase on your profits and a little bit more. You could have locked in $13 on that contract. That's $1,300 on a $600 investment. You were probably risking maybe $200 of that at most, right? So you could have locked it in there, and if you look, once it went down to here and started pushing back up, you move your stop, right? And it never tapped. It would have kept going. At this point, you have quadrupled your contract pricing. It went all the way from like $650 to $2,400 some dollars. And the same thing, you had your stop here. You could have moved your stop up a little bit. Maybe you left it here. If you're not happy with quadrupling your account, your position, then you could have still held for another pullback here and gone. I mean, very much so. This was a good day to hold and move. You could have locked in 1700, and then at the top, you probably would have been. I mean, let's be real. If you put $600 in, you're sitting at $1,700, $1,800. You're probably moving your stop up as it's going. And if you did it right, you could have landed up in here anywhere. I think I was looking at the wrong pullback here. I was looking at this one. Is the one I meant to look at originally. So let me zoom. Yeah, there we go. I apologize. There we go. So much more than I actually mentioned. So this pullback right here. So this one would have probably gotten you out or close if you were, I always give a little buffer. But on this pullback, once it pushed up again, if you were to move your stop up, you wouldn't have necessarily gotten stopped out. You could have, if you put it right on the low, you might have been stopped, right? But you could see the contracts actually went to $3,500 at the high. So if you had kept trailing, once you make a new high, it's always when you make a new high. So right here, nothing. You made a new high here off of this one. So now you'd probably move your stop either here or here. And then once this comes down, you still wouldn't have got stopped out. I mean, I don't know that I would have held that long. That's crazy. $3,500 off a $600 contract. I've tried before. It's hard to hold this long. Once you start seeing the percentage of the contract growing, it's very easy to be right here and just take your money and realize that, hey, I just tripled my contract, right? So why not just take that money? And then if you would have held even longer, you would have doubled the triple, right? We're talking about like 6x. So pretty crazy move up if you would have taken a part of it. Outside of that, I had to put here just for reference for those that get a little, I know a lot of people that are aggressive reversal traders. So, I know people that are looking for, what they're looking for is they're looking for a pullback, right? But then they want to see another lower high. We never created a lower high until here. So once they had gotten here, they would have just bought. They would have put their stop there. If they had a bought here on this candle, that $650, and they would have rode this down to somewhere in here. And I mean, you're talking about roughly like $1,400 off a $600 investment. So I wanted to share that for you, you bears out there that prefer to look at puts, so you can see what you could have made. But yeah. Beautiful day on the move up. If you were patient, the day was a little tricky in the beginning. It really messed with people. I would be willing to bet a lot of people lost their butts here. There are people who are very impatient. I've been one of them. But this move right here probably trapped a lot of buyers. And this push down either scared them out or had them nervous, or they cut profits early on this lower high, right? This is very tricky. I mean, look at this. You got a lower low, but then a higher high, higher low, and then a lower high, right? It's just like, where are we doing? What's happening? So I can see why people would have gotten burned on today. But for those that were patient and those who had a plan, there was definitely opportunity to be made. Yeah, so that's it from me today. Pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, leave questions and comments on the videos. I actually realized comments were off, so I apologize. Feel free to go ahead and leave a comment. Like and subscribe if you will, if you enjoy this type of stuff, and I will see you tomorrow.